Hi, thank you for joining me in my studio today, Elegant and Earthy. Today I am using reclaimed clay from some plates I made earlier today, and this reclaimed clay is going to make a number of mugs. And I'm pretty excited about these mugs because I'm just learning a new treatment for them, and I can share that with you later. But right now I'll share with you how to throw on the wheel. So first you make a lump of clay. This lump of clay is 1 pound, 4 ounces, 20 ounces. You just center it in the middle of your bat. The round thing's called a bat. And turn your wheel a little bit. I have a foot pedal I'm using to turn the wheel. And then just slap center this into kind of a triangle shape. A couple of taps on the top, water on your hand, elbow in your hip, so it's nice and stationary. Hold your hand still and push the clay down towards the bat. And for this process of centering, you want your wheel to go a little bit fast. I'm going to push it down one more time. And there we go. Okay, and then I'm going to, I've made this cone shape, and now I'm going to push the cone shape down to make sure the clay is nice and wet when I do this. I wrap my hands around the clay, the wheel going pretty fast, and I use my thumbs to push the clay forward or away from me. And then when I get it down a little ways into kind of a disc shape or half circle shape, I take a look at it, make sure it's nice and centered, make sure I don't have anything popping out like this piece right here. I just run my wooden rib right next to it and scrape it right away. And that will affect centering, so that's a nice thing to know. So just hugging it in, make sure it's centered, elbow in the hip, and karate chop this down. Give me a little more moisture here. Get a nice disc shape. Use my thumb as a tool, 3 fingers to push my thumb into the center of the disc. This is creating the floor. And then once I think it's as low as I want it to be, I move the thumb and my 3 fingers towards me to open up the floor. It's getting a little wild right now, so I'm just gonna calm it down. I think it's doing that because there's a bubble in there. And that happens quite often with reclaimed clay. I'm just gonna check the depth of this. It's exactly where I want it. Just gonna flatten out the bottom, make sure it's a nice smooth bottom. And then pull the side out a bit. There we go. And now I'm going to use the other side of this tool to create the wall and the floor, the 90-degree angle. So it's as simple as that, creating that 90-degree angle. I'm going to reestablish the floor one more time. I'm going to go ahead and use this rib because it feels a little dry and a little bumpy, so I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit more. All right, now it's time to hug this ring of clay. Put my hands on the outside and just hug it in towards the center of the circle. You want to go relatively fast for this process. Okay, that's good enough. I have raised the clay a little bit and hugged it in. Now I'm going to use my index finger, my middle finger, and my middle finger on the outside to push the clay in. And it will be in this formation. The inside handle will be a little bit higher, the outside handle will be a little bit lower, and between the 2 fingers, a little ring of clay will be raised up. So that's the whole process, is pushing in on the bottom, pushing out gently at the top, putting my finger right into the corner where we established the wall, and then coming up with both hands attached to one another so they work together. I need a little more moisture here. And raising up the wall a little bit. There we go. Finger across the top just to establish the top so it doesn't get all wavy and bumpy. And I need a little more moisture on the inside. Again, on the outside, pushing it again with the middle finger on both, and then pushing in and then raising that little bit of round clay up. And when you get close to the top, you let off the pressure quite a bit because the clay is a little softer at the top. It's been worked a little bit more. Okay, a little more moisture. I have one finger on the inside, one finger on the outside, and I just drip the sponge kind of right between my knuckles. And that directs the moisture exactly to the point where I need it. So this is my third and final pull. I leave a little clay on the rim so I can make a nice shaped rim. Now, when working with this white clay, it's pretty important to keep the environment as dry as possible. And it's not something you can perfect because you need water to work with clay on the wheel. But it is something to keep in mind as you're working. Reestablishing the bottom in that angle, 90-degree angle that I like. Okay, that looks good. Still want to clean up the moisture content down there a little bit. That's a little bit better. Coming up the wall, taking away some of the moisture. Another way to take away the moisture is to use the flexible rib and just scrape it off the wall on the inside as you lift it up. I think you can see it's right there making contact. And then it's quite a bit of moisture we had left on the inside. We're gonna get rid of some more moisture right now. It's kind of gathered in that 90-degree angle. Gonna get rid of that. Okay, and then on the outside, we'll use the middle rib. I'll just scrape the slip off the outside. That will help with the drying process, and also I like the smooth texture to embellish on. And you don't have to do this, the scraping. If you like to see the, you know, in your work, if you like to see the, you know, the finger lines where you've put your own fingers on the pot, and, you know, maybe it's a gift for a loved one, or it has some personal meaning to you to do that, that's perfectly fine. And I've done that for different types of pots. For this particular thing I'm kind of excited to do, I want a nice smooth surface in which to embellish on. So that's not what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to smooth it right out. And I like this tool to make a nice neat foot. This is a Dirty Girls tool. I've got my Dirty Girls tool, Dirty, which seems fitting. I'm going to use the middle rib one more time and just take away that little ridge that formed. Kind of smooth it out with my finger because it has a little bit of rib marks, which I don't really like for this particular treatment I'm doing. All right, that's a little better. Good. So we're up to the top, and the only thing left to do is take care of the rim. And I like to use a little bit of this suede to do it. And I'm just gonna make sure it doesn't drip into the pot if I can do that. I'm gonna angle the rim out a little bit because I think it's a more pleasant rim to have it angled out. And I'm just gonna check how it feels with my fingers. There we go. That's the shape I like. And then I'll just take this clean tool because I don't want to add any more slip to it. I want to take the slip away. I'll take this clean tool and just scrape off the slip right here where I was working. And then also on the inside, scrape the slip off where I was working. Use my finger just to kind of eliminate any lines I just made. And that's kind of it. Now for the drying process, I like to have the bat nice and dry, nice and clean and dry. And I just use my sponge to clean off any residue that's left. There is one drop in the bottom of this. It's driving me crazy, so I'm just gonna sponge it up. There. Okay, and then I just take a little bit of moisture and I throw it on the bat. There. Throw it on the bat right in the center. Take my wire tool and cut this cylinder off the bat by dragging some water towards the cylinder and then just sliding my wire tool underneath the bat. Okay. Now the reason I do that is my white clay, it likes to crack. If it's drying and it hasn't been cut off the bat, quite often it will form an S-crack. And the way I avoid the S-crack is by, that's a funny name too, isn't it? The way I avoid the S-crack, the S-shaped crack, is by cutting it off the bat. And that works great with the white clay. Now, I don't necessarily do that with other clays. Like, for example, I work with a chocolate clay, dark chocolate clay quite often. Really enjoy working with that. And I like the presentation that has. But that is a clay that has quite a bit of grog in it. And that's little tiny bits of, you know, sand-sized molecules or smaller. And it makes the clay more durable and less prone to crack. So, thank you for joining me.